ISO up.
Like your shirt.
Appreciate it. I like yours.
Thank you, brother.
All right, so I'm here, my boy Corey Reynolds. We loved him on TNT, but now he's in a feature film that's meaning a lot to people. How did it feel to play this role and to symbolize the civil rights movement for a generation that may not know what it's all about?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the images that we see today, other than the wardrobe, they look very similar to the images that you see from the past and the ones that we try to recreate in the film. It's an important piece of work. I think as an actor, these are the type of projects that you want to be a part of your legacy. These are the type of projects you want people to look back on and remember. And quite honestly, it's the most important work I've ever done in my life.
So I know how it felt when we seen the images in Ferguson for the first time, and I'm wondering how different was it for you, for like having just played these roles and had acted out these scenes. Like when you first seen what was going on in Ferguson with the militarization, like what was your thoughts on that?
You know, it kind of harkens back to the idea that there's been a tremendous amount of progress that's been made, but we would be remiss if we didn't add to that there's a clear indication that there's a tremendous amount of progress left to be made. A lot of those images were haunting. You know, when we were down there shooting in Selma and in Atlanta, we had to create some pretty ugly moments of American history. And to turn on the TV today, 50 years later, and see the same types of abuse of power, quite frankly, still taking place, it's disheartening. But, you know, meeting like CT and John Lewis and these other men who really stepped out into the firing line, you know, it's one of those things that, and part of the reason I wore the shirt tonight is I think there's a level of importance to this work and to this segment of history with the Supreme Court just gutting the Voting Rights Act 50 years later, basically declaring that it's not necessary anymore. And then you saw an influx of hurdles put in front of people to vote immediately within hours of the decision. I think that we as a people and as a society and as a culture here in America have to be cognizant of our history, or we're doomed to repeat it.
Last question. If Martin Luther King was here today, you spoke about voting rights and what's going on with that, what do you think would be the issues that he would be fighting for today?
I think the same. I think you're talking about jobs. I think you're talking about equality. I think you're talking about the lack of humanity that seems to be a part of the American human experience. CT once famously said, America doesn't have a race problem, we have a humanity problem. The race is irrelevant. And I think Dr. King would be pleased that you know, things have changed enough that, you know, Barack Obama was elected. But quite frankly, it seemed to me that that election kind of dusted off some smoldering embers, and when air hit it again, it lit back up. And you know, like I said, there's progress, but there's disappointments as well. And that's what this struggle, quite frankly, was, and why I think the movie is so important. Because, you know, I grew up in Virginia, and American history, the way that I was taught was, you know, there was slavery, there was Jim Crow, and then Martin Luther King showed up, and everything was fine. But I think this film does a beautiful job depicting the struggle within the struggle and the struggles of the participants of the struggle, that they were human, that they had fears, that they had doubts, but they had a drive within them to make things better. And I probably wouldn't be standing here right now if it wasn't for them. So I'm forever grateful.
Thank you for taking the time, Corey. Great.